I spent 100 days in ARK Survival Ascended without taming a single flyer. This story's insanely peak, and make sure you watch till the end to really witness the true challenges. Like the video if you enjoy it, and let's get started. Day 1 started with me building my sturdy thatch hut and a trap for a nearby raptor that I wanted to tame. However, I got bold and decided to just knock it out myself. The raptor tamed quickly, and I brought it back home and got some meat for it. I then crafted narcos, a bow, and to end off the day, tested it on a poor turtle. Day 2 just started, and I already was committing mass genocide for the raptor saddle, which I tested out right after, of course. Unlocking metal tools, then grinding for a sec, and voila, I got both stations. Then I found a baby parasaur and led it back to my base and spent the rest of the night waiting out the cold. I woke up with a passion for moss chops taming on day 3 and had an urge to build a raft. But then I spotted a green and white drop, which both had some goodies for me to steal. I crafted a metal pick and hatchet and finally built my beloved raft. After placing it gently in the water, I found a second baby parasaur who I immediately kidnapped. I then used the rest of the day to craft stone-based parts. Day 4 started off well but ended roughly. I said goodbye to my base, but shortly after, Buddy fell off the raft and I had to rescue him. I decided to go the other way and found where I was going to try to survive. I started unpacking when Barry decided to mess with the wrong raptor and Buddy made short work of it. Things went downhill though when Buddy got attacked again by another raptor, but managed to kill this one as well. I was looking around for my moss chops when I got the message that it had been killed by a raptor after running away. There goes my fiber collector. I had some hope after finding a baby raptor and turtle, thinking that my bad luck had ended. I couldn't have been more wrong, as I watched the baby raptor and Buddy die, while not being able to do anything except killing the tickle chicken afterwards. Fortunately, the turtle survived since it ran away in the heat of the battle. Going out to tame some new dinos, I stumbled upon a Rex dying in battle against a Bronto who had a baby. I helped kill the Rex and felt a glimmer of hope when I got the baby. But this was short-lived as well, since it died trying to cross the river with piranhas. With nothing else to lose, I knocked out a new raptor and tamed it quickly after. I found the raptor and turtle later that night battling a Carno, and they actually won to my surprise. But this wasn't a one-time thing, and against the odds, my little pack seemed to be unstoppable. This was by far the worst, yet most action-packed day yet. Waking up with revenge, I adopted a baby raptor on the morning of day 5, then reinforced my defenses and added a gateway. I also tamed a new raptor and then was able to get a parasaur as well. I got a little cocky and tried to get a Carno, but it literally went as far south as it could have gone. But at least I got some extra hide afterwards. There's nothing like going out on an adventure with your raptor and ending up getting chased back to your base by a pack of 2. Gathering the rest of my gang, I went out seeking revenge and unfortunately got caught by a stray and died. Running back, I found no remains of the attackers and gathered my stuff. I then went on a very long walk thinking about how I'm going to recover from this and thought screw it, I'm taming a Spino. Running away was the most terrifying thing in the world, and even though I died of overheating, I trapped the guy. However, getting jumped by a raptor was not on my list, but I still managed to knock it out. Then to the main problem at hand. Knocking it out felt like a victory of its own, but that feeling of success when I tamed it was all the motivation I needed. I wanted another Spino when I woke up on day 7, however the trap working last time seemed to be pure luck. I learned that when standing inside the trap, I could actually stay safe, which I will definitely use again. I knew it would be a good day when I knocked it out, but that was honestly an understatement. More defenses, an Anki tame on Herbivore Island, and a trike stuck inside of my trap, and a baby one as well. Day 8 started with the Spino not knowing who it was messing with, and this day was even better than the one before. I managed to get 2 raptors, multiple trikes, a Carno who was being guarded by a Theory, so I lost my patience and tamed the Theory as well. On day 9, there was a brand new Spino on the block, who I wanted to tame, but the trap didn't work once again. I still knocked it out, and taming it was the easiest one yet. I then left to go on an Explorer Note run, which was a pretty good success. Wanting to level up my dinos on day 10, I took the Spinos and Theory and murdered some Alpha dinos. I was able to kill 2 Alpha Raptors, and after an intense battle, an Alpha Carno. And after crafting an Anki saddle, we got some metal on Herbivore Island. Smelting the metal for flak armor and a Carno saddle, I adopted a baby Theory after killing its mom brutally. Day 11, I was able to kidnap 2 baby stegos to build my army, and a baby Carno as well. I knocked out a higher level Carno and decided it would be my steed for our journey into the redwoods. The Carno finally tamed on day 12, and it was nice finally having a carnivore with the saddle. I crafted flak armor for protection and started packing up the base, and by the end of the day, we were all ready. The day finally arrived. We set out first thing in the morning and marched down the southern beach. We came across very few threats and started our final challenge to arrive. After making it through the swamp with minimal losses, we finally arrived at our new home. We only lost a couple dinos and ended off the day setting up the new base. On day 14, I tamed a Dodic and 2 baby terror birds with very creative names. I used the Dodic to harvest stone for the gateways so that we'd have a safer perimeter, and tamed a Megaloceros for better thatch harvesting. We tamed a furry friend on day 15 and robbed a poor beaver blind. We did a little exploring and tested our luck with the yellow drop that had some decent loot. We finally crafted a Theri saddle and enslaved it for my profit on day 16, expanding the wall and even crafting a behemoth gate for my larger tames. Also adopted a baby dire bear that I'm definitely going to use in the future. On day 17, I learned how overpowered dire bears are and got very lucky with the supply drop. Finally unlocked the Spino saddle and made huge progress on the walls. My dire bear became a machine of war on day 18, and I got not 1, but 2 supply drops with decent loot. I then crafted a fabricator and some more walls to end off the day. I got ballsy on day 19 and decided to grab the artifact of the hunter on Honey. Unfortunately, Honey couldn't go all the way, and I made the mistake of going ahead on foot, which didn't go well. But after learning that my Carno could fit, I made short work of the bugs. We returned home victoriously and ended the day by knocking out a higher level Dodic. On day 20, we went up to the volcano for a quick look around and finally tamed the new Dodic. I got an amazing purple drop and tried to tame a Rex, but the dummy died to a dimorph. I went out searching for more bears on day 21 to grow my army. However, I had no luck because the game apparently turned all the dire bears into loot drops. I had a wonderful start to day 22 when I quickly learned that dire bears aren't easily tamed with trank arrows, and I lost both high level ones because I clearly don't learn. I took out my anger on an alpha Carno, then went on a side quest to rescue my long lost Enki and spent the rest of the day bringing his slow butt back. On day 23, I finally finished building the gates to keep my tiny army safe and went on a metal run with my Enki. I knocked out a beaver for better wood harvesting and crafted a rifle until Woody tamed up. Woody did not disappoint the next day, and I slayed an alpha raptor as I prepared for the artifact of the clever. On day 25, I headed out to commit robbery and pulled off a surprisingly easy heist. I realized I should probably get a baryonyx for my future caves, and while taming it, ran out of trank darts mid-tame and decided to literally take things into my own hands. Fishy tamed up early the next day, and after crafting a saddle, proceeded to get absolutely slammed into the air by a Dinosuchus, and luckily landed in the water. After returning home, I prepared for my journey to the lava cave and set out during sunset. Arriving at the cave at the start of day 27, I had a flawless artifact heist once again. I forced my Enki to harvest metal for me and felt very confident at this point in the series. This confidence grew on day 28 as I finally knocked out another high level dire bear. As I waited for it to tame, I scavenged some decent loot from supply drops. After the bear tamed up the next morning, I immediately ordered them to do the freaky as I watched. Once I successfully helped to create life, I celebrated by robbing the overseer blind. On day 30, I went to steal the artifact of the pack, and it was all going great until I realized I forgot to craft cryopods and had to leave Fishy behind. Of course, I didn't last long and had to return on Honey for my gear and artifact, but still had to leave Fishy behind. After crafting some cryopods, I set out to rescue my poor Barry on day 31. After popping him into the Pokeball and returning home, I relaxed and watched my dire bears do the thing. Late that night, I got a surprise visitor, my Theri from day 13 who had gotten lost. I don't even know how he made it back. With my baryonyx back home the next day, I decided to try the artifact of the Devourer, and it went surprisingly well, with a loot drop as a special treat. I grabbed a couple more drops on the way back home and got some very good loot. Day 33 was light, breeding bears and starting crops for kibble. The new dire bear was ready to level on day 34, and I nearly had an encounter with a Karcho while on the volcano. Traumatized, I left and adopted a high-level baby dire bear. On day 35, I started crafting up focal chili and kibble for a basilo, organizing storage, breeding dire bears, and adopted a high-level Carno cause why not? I committed theft on day 36, and then sat around crafting more kibble for the future basilo, and this will become a trend. I started a crime streak on day 37, murdering 2 Alpha Rexes and finally finished my fortress walls. I tripled my lemon production and finally organized my tames. We ended off the day with a couple of artifact displays from a supply drop. On day 38, I KO'd a mid-level Rex, adopted a baby Cerrado and a cool sloth, and by the end of the day, the Rex was tamed. I adopted a spouse for my Rex on day 39 after imprinting more dire bears, crafted more basilo kibble, and leveled up the bears. I was lucky on day 40 and got 2 high-level babies and spent the rest of the day robbing and escaping the feds. On day 41, I grinded levels on my dire bear, crafted the scuba gear needed to tame the basilo, and breeded the Rexes for eggs for kibble. After committing murder on day 42, I crafted one last bit of kibble and then set out to finally tame this glorified sausage. However, after searching day and night on day 43, I couldn't find a single one. The next day, I was just about to give up, until I found a high-level one near the snow biome, quickly taming it and bringing it back home. I expanded my perimeter on day 45, then returned to the ocean with my basilo to farm some levels. And on day 46, I ventured off to get my first underwater artifact. The cave went smoothly, with little to no spawns and an easy win for the day. After hyping myself up the morning of day 47, I traveled to the hard underwater cave. I went in with confidence, battled a Tuso, and got chased out by 2 mosasaurs who I killed off afterwards. I went back and killed the Tuso and had an extreme battle with an alpha Macleod before finally defeating it and securing the artifact. On day 48, I was on a roll and went to grab the artifact of the Skylord, and right before I could grab it, I got killed. After an overpowered red drop, I went back in Terminator style and secured the artifact. It was finally time for the hardest cave in the game on day 49, and I entered the hard snow cave with 2 of my bears. It was a long journey through the cave, but we made it through it all and finally got the artifact. It was on day 50 when I realized I needed the artifact of the immune, and set out grinding for a chemistry table for gas masks. On day 51, I focused on getting obsidian for polymer, and the next day, I took a break to kill an alpha Carno. Very productive, I know. I desperately searched beaver dams for silica pearls on day 53, but when I did grab them, they were in very small amounts. I then imprinted some dire bears and thought about what I should do next. It was back to farming pearls on day 54, which I used to craft up some more electronics. The next day, after taming an otter, we finally crafted the chemistry table, which I used to craft absorbent substrate and then gas masks. On day 56, it was time to grab the final artifact. And after doing the hard snow cave, this thing was a piece of cake. And after grabbing this easy artifact, I farmed obsidian for more artifact pedestals. I knocked out a level 150 dire bear on day 57, and after it tamed, I made them do the funny business. I then crafted more pedestals to show off all the artifacts. I incubated a Rex egg on day 58 and imprinted some more dire bears. And the next day, the Rex eggs hatched, and I knocked out another high-level dire bear. On day 60, I realized I had been breeding the bears wrong this whole time, and made a little reset for my army. I relocated the other bears so I could have a fresh start and knocked out another high-level bear. I raised more babies and incubated some Rex eggs on the next day, and progress was going very fast. However, I was unaware of a decision I would make very soon. On day 62, I switched from only having a dire bear army to having both Rexes and dire bears, since dire bears by themselves wouldn't be able to cut it. This pattern continued on to day 70, and by that time, I had made the important decision to change my army to be purely Rexes, since the dire bears had been very difficult even to get to 10k health. I'm honestly glad I made the decision when I had, and by the time I reached day 76, all the Rexes had boss level stats. On day 77, it was metal harvesting time because I still needed to make saddles for the whole army. By the time we reached day 79, I crafted plenty of saddles and cryopods, and on day 80, I started farming trophies for beta bosses, a decision that I would soon regret. The trophy hunting continued on for a few days, and I was saving the Gigaheart for last because, to be honest, I was stressed about it. I finally built up the nerve to kill this Karcha on day 84, and it went flawlessly, all thanks to my overpowered dire bear F1. The rest of the day was spent preparing for the beta Broodmother boss fight, and the next day, I was ready, also quite stressed going into it. I made a crucial mistake and didn't aggro all the Rexes to the spider in the beginning, which is why we lost a couple of Rexes. But in the end, we pulled through and defeated the Broodmother. Once I returned home, I set up graves for the fallen Rexes. I spent the entirety of the next day motivating myself for the next boss. And on day 87, we went after the Megapithecus. This boss fight went much smoother, only losing one Rex to the ravine. In the end, we secured our second victory against the island's mini-bosses. After the Rexes healed overnight, I geared up for the dragon fight. I chose Gamma for this one because I knew the dragon would be especially difficult. At the start, I was very confident that we would succeed. However, I didn't realize how many Rexes I would lose in the process. But we pulled through, and at this point I was incredibly stressed because I only had 9 Rexes to defeat the Gamma Overseer. On day 89, I regained my confidence and made a decision that I believed would help me win against this final boss, using my dire bears. The time had arrived, and as the tech cave opened, I knew that it was a 50-50 chance whether or not I would succeed at this. We weren't off to a good start when I had to leave a few Rexes behind since it was taking too long to file them all in. But after getting my army situated, we were ready. And then, finally, we arrived. I had faith in my ragtag army as we approached the arena. And once I activated the terminal, I knew there was no going back now. As I was approaching the entrance, I felt grateful for all the time I had spent up to this point, whether I defeated the boss or not. And just like that, the final battle had begun. My job was to take care of the defense units, while my army wreaks havoc on the Overseer. And things were going very well until I made one crucial mistake. I got too close to the Overseer. Now, about to die, I couldn't focus on the drones and defense units, and I witnessed my army start to drop like flies. I made one last ditch effort to protect my army, but nothing was going the way it should have. And when my army had finally fallen, I charged in, head first. I honestly didn't know what to do for the entire morning of day 91. But I licked my wounds and decided to go rescue those Rexes who couldn't get into the tech cave in time. I made a promise to myself on day 92 just to enjoy the game for these last few days. I was surprised to find a unicorn close to my base and tamed it just for the fun of it. Yeah, it may have been drowning, but don't worry about that. The next day, I visited my old bases, remembering all the crazy stuff that happened, and found a baby Allosaur to adopt. On day 94, I finished raising the Allosaur and explored around on my new steed, and found a very cinematic location. I started to lose all my filters on day 95 and did something that could have gotten me a DUI. I then tested out the electric prod I always wanted to try. Yeah, that Dodic wasn't very happy. The next day, I worked on rescuing the dinosaurs that got stuck on day 13 when I first moved to the Redwoods. I think they were pretty happy to have finally arrived. I decided to be productive and farm metal on day 97, and then got bored and committed a couple of felonies. The fact that I lost the boss fight hit me again on day 98, and I sat there for quite some time. By quite some time, I mean the whole day. And on day 99, I complained to myself about how the Acros had literally taken over the entire part of the map. I started off the last day just admiring the sunrise and the Rexes. I visited my first base and then my second, and at the end of the day, I got up to the top of the redwoods to watch the sunset. I would like to thank everyone who watched until the end. This video was fun, but also insanely hard to make while dealing with school and other things in life, so I appreciate all of your support. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this, and I will see you guys next time.